Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Talking Schitt, where we are talking all sorts of shit. Schitt's Creek, that is. I'm Jess Sterling. Today, we are talking about Season 3. We're wrapping things up. We're halfway through the series. So we have to wrap up Season 3 before we can move on to Season 4. And of course, you heard that voice. I'm not alone. I never am. I'm here with someone who is still upset he cannot start Season 4 yet. Stuart, how are you?
About an hour away, right? And I certainly haven't just binged the entirety of Season 3 because I can't watch any episodes of Season 4. We're close, right? I can watch it soon, please?
At the end of the podcast. I'm just going to delay this podcast as long as possible. It's going to be a 3-hour pod. So strap in, folks. Buckle up.
I don't think I can do that, Jess. Yeah. Like, already we've established that I have my dinner after the podcast, and we're already getting... This is post-7.
Wait, have we had this conversation on
this
the podcast?
This would be closer to when you have your breakfast, probably.
I like an early dinner, okay? So sue me. I enjoy a 5 p.m. dinner. You want to know why? Because then when it's like 8, 9 p.m. and I'm feeling snacky, it's not as close to dinner. And you can like have a little snack.
Fair play. But yeah.
Anyway,
you gotta get going though. I'm hungry.
There's so many people that just had full body cringes at that.
I know, right? Yeah.
We're wrapping up Season 3. So if you're new here, first of all, hi, hello, how are you? Thank you so much for listening. Weird time to join, but cool. We're going to talk through the different characters and what they did this season. We're going to rank the characters. We've added some people to our rankings this season. Very exciting. We're going to talk about the Simply the Best winner and the Disgruntled Pelican winner, but really loser.
Wait.
And then we're going to, I've added a little something extra, Stuart. We're going to rank the seasons so far. Now we have 3 of them. And yes, we do rank the episodes, but I feel like we also should just specify this is how we feel about each season. This is where it belongs.
So we're ranking the characters, we're ranking the episodes, now we're ranking the seasons.
Yep.
Amazing. Rank everything.
Everything needs to be ranked.
Yes.
And then we'll talk through Stuart's predictions about this season and whether or not he predicted anything accurately. And then we'll talk through some of his predictions for Season 4, get into some feedback. And that's about all we got. So that's the plan for today, Stuart. I'm really excited to talk through Season 3. It was a good season.
It really was. I tell you what I'm not excited about, accountability, because I make these predictions and I don't have a clue, and I don't even remember what I predicted. So I don't know whether or not I'm going to be successful or whether I'm going to be ousted as being an absolute idiot who doesn't know what the heck is going on with this show. Who knows? I'm looking forward to that, but kind of not looking forward to it. But I am looking forward to getting into this season because, like I said just before, I have binge watched the entire of Season 3 today, and I'm so glad of it because it's such a good show, and this season is top tier. I'm kind of spoiling how I'm going to rank the seasons, but this season is so effing good.
Yeah, this season is really, really good. I feel like we're seeing a lot of growth out of certain characters. A lot of characters are starting something new. They're getting into something completely new on their journeys. So I feel like this is the season that people kind of say really locks in, specifically with the arrival of Patrick as a new character. So there's a lot this season has going for it. Yeah. Let's get into it. let's start with our character breakdowns. And of course, we have to start with the patriarch himself, Mr. Johnny Rose. I feel like this is arguably Johnny's best season.
Oh, yeah.
He actually, this sounds
Does
so
stuff.
mean. He gets a job. He's been trying for 2 seasons to land something, come up with some business idea. And I think it's so funny and perfect that the job he ends up getting is literally the thing directly in front of his face. He lives there, right? Couldn't be closer. And he finally is doing something about that. He is now working at the motel with Stevie, which is, I think, another point in his favor for this season, Stuart, is his relationship with Stevie this season is just such a joy to see. You've said this on a past podcast where Stevie is finally the straight man to Johnny's wackiness in a way we hadn't really gotten before.
Yeah, and it's been so good to see Johnny spread out and actually talk to other people other than the family and Roland, who seem to be the only people that he would ever really
and
talk
Bob.
to.
He's kind of BFFs with Bob.
Well, is he now? Because Bob gave away his workspace. They've had the absolute awkwardness of Johnny accusing Bob of cheating at poker.
And Gwen, and his wife Gwen, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Really throwing some stones here. I don't know. Are we going to see a rivalry? I'm getting ahead. I'm doing predictions already.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's going to be a thing between them. Are we going to get a fight eventually? Is that the kind of show? Are we going to have fights in this show? I don't know. It doesn't seem it, but
yeah. I will say the first time they ever met is when Johnny and Moira were having sex in Bob's cabin, and he seemed to get over that.
You're done.
You done it?
And then,
and then he went, "You're good."
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
More for Moira than Johnny.
Oh yeah. That was all about Moira for sure.
But then, of course, he invited him to speak at his brother's funeral. It was his brother,
it was his
right?
brother's funeral. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like things have gone downhill from that point. From being invited to speak at someone's brother's funeral to then kicking them out of their workspace and then them accusing you of cheating at poker. I feel like the relationship's taken a bit of a nosedive.
Okay, but maybe Bob's Bagels idea comes back around because now Johnny is I need cinnamon rolls for the motel.
He doesn't need Bob then. He's got Ivan.
He wants to expand the continental breakfast. You know what a continental breakfast needs? Bagels.
Yeah, but there'd be Ivan's bagels, not Bob's bagels.
And Bob would be brought in.
That's awful. That is.
I'm not sure if I agree with
that.
Ready to
They're
go.
about to sign the deal and everything. He just jogs in.
There he comes. Clap. Okay. He's ready.
It took us 6-7 minutes to get into this before we mentioned the Bob jogging.
It's not my fault, okay? It's my favorite.
Yeah, sure it isn't.
But
yeah, Johnny has had this season started out really kind of Johnny centric. I found the first few episodes were really kind of Johnny was at the forefront because there was this whole lingering thing that we've been talking about is that Johnny hadn't been doing much. All the others have been out and achieving things. David had made the money. Alexis had got the job. Moira has had a couple of gigs and then had the town council stuff going on. So Johnny was a bit lost, really. And so it was nice seeing him go through this season, exploring that and kind of addressing it, and then overcoming it and finding the motel being kind of there in front of him, and then to kind of link him up with Stevie. It was really good. Anyone that says I hate Johnny, I don't necessarily hate Johnny. I just think he's the weakest of the four. Just going to say that.
Yeah, I like what we got to see from Johnny this season, right? He's working in the motel now. He has this relationship building with Stevie. He's also the one who's responsible for getting the family a car, which I do think ends up being really important in terms of all of them are utilizing that car. Now, David paid for the car.
Yes.
So we need to give David probably the most credit, but it was Johnny's idea to say, maybe we should get a family car. So he does get credit for the idea to get a car.
Yeah, well done for spending your child's money. Well done.
There you go. So yeah, I think Johnny overall better season than he's had previously, which you know is saying we've been pretty hard on him in the past seasons. So I was really pleased to get a little bit of Johnny growth this episode or this season.
Yeah, same here, and I'm hoping that Johnny just continues this kind of upward trajectory, because honestly, like, kind of Johnny fake hate aside, like, because it's kind of funny to kind of like rip on Johnny a little bit and to kind of really point out the eccentricities of the things that he does and the stupid things that he does as well. But Eugene Levy is a comedic genius, which makes the whole thing, like, makes every stupid choice that Johnny makes all the more funny. And it's only a testament to his superb acting that we get Johnny in these kind of ridiculous situations where he does, like, where he has awful scenarios with people where he talks about changing their sheets and they go, no, you don't need to. And he goes, oh, I'm just here to change the sheets like you asked for. And it's like, Johnny, you know that you're the worst liar in the world. Stop it. But only Eugene Levy could really pull it off in an effective way. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I just hope that he takes more of an upward trajectory in terms of Johnny being happy and being settled, but we still get Eugene Levy still throwing in the comedy aspects of it, I guess.
Yeah, that's all. I think that's all pretty fair. Okay, let's talk through Moira, because Moira has, I feel like, a much quieter season, right? Season 2 was so focused on the town council election. And so as a result, Moira was front and center for a lot of that. Don't get me wrong, she is still a main character. When I was just thinking back to, like, what did Moira get up to this season? I feel like it was less focused on her and more like she's being involved in other people's storylines. So, like, as an example, David wants to get the store. She's on town council. She can put in a good word. She, you know, doesn't at first and then kind of comes around to it. I guess the biggest moment for her probably is like the overnight council event that she goes to with Roland. Like, there we're getting a lot of town council business. But what about you? You just rewatched this. I didn't get a chance to rewatch the season. You rewatched it today. So what did you think of Moira's storyline this season?
Completely agree. It was almost as if it wasn't for how she was integrated with everything, it would almost be like she's taken a step back. But I think it was really good of, like, an effective writing of being able to be like, okay, well, we've put Moira in this town council position. Let's give her an opportunity to play off so many other kind of elements of things and have her be involved in more events. Because before, what it was is Moira pulling focus, because it was almost like we have to have a reason to justify having a Moira thing. And so to do that, it would be her having a meltdown over something or doing something kind of really eccentric. It was nice to see her being integrated with Schitt's Creek in a way that made sense and wasn't her pulling focus. Now, Moira still pulls focus because it's Moira, but she does so in a way that kind of makes more sense with the fact that she is the diva former actress who believes that everyone knows her name and she doesn't know anyone else's name. Like, she's a celebrity in that kind of situation. And it was nice to see her get that opportunity, because I love seeing her and Roland have a great dynamic. That from the first thing of, like, her telling him to sign the effing contract and slapping him, like, seeing that play out in more and more scenes of, like, them having tension on the town council, of her just being tired of Roland's BS, and Roland just continually kind of, like, poking and, like, teasing a little bit, and then also the affair, I say with air quotes. Like, that was just genius. But it was also great to see her, like, interact with Ronnie. Like, I can't remember if I said it before, but, like, them two building a friendship. Like, it was nice to see them having more to do with each other. I kind of wish we had a bit more, but it was good to see her kind of, I guess, exist normally in this place and settle in, really.
Yeah.
Like, it's nice to see her find some contentment with where she is, finally.
I think that's spot on, the phrase of settling in. It does feel like she has now settled in to Schitt's Creek. And so as a result, we are seeing her be a little bit more supportive of other characters and their stories, right? I think this season has two of the more significant growth moments between her and her children, being David and the store, and her saying like, you can do this, her basically saying like, no, if you want it, it's yours, like I believe in you, and then being very impressed when the store opens. And then with Alexis and the whole grad night, right, the finale, like there are some really big moments between Moira and her kids that we haven't really seen before. I feel like Johnny's always been more of a words of affirmation guy, right? I feel like he's saying to his kids that he loves them more often, that he's more proud, like that he's proud of them. I think he says that stuff just more often than Moira does. So it packs a bigger punch when she does it. And I do think we had multiple moments this season where we got to see Moira shine as a mom, which I don't think we necessarily have really seen a ton of in past seasons. Small moments, but not to the point that we got this season.
Almost like her being forced to be motherly as well. Like when Alexis was sick and it was like kind of really kind of forced upon her. And like, and it's not been entirely smooth sailing either. Like the revelation that they've been bankrolling David's art gallery was heartbreaking. But then you also have to give credit to the admission of it all. Yeah. And if there wasn't stuff like that happening, I don't think you would have got David turning up for Moira with the whole Sebastian thing and like defending her in only a way that David could, of just sleeping with him and then having to steal the SD card. I was like, genius. But like there wouldn't be these kind of almost moments of reciprocation if there wasn't an admission that she hasn't necessarily been the best mother, and she never will be the greatest mother, but she can be a mother in the way that she needs at certain points when they need it. So when Alexis during grad night is like doing the obvious, well, if you are free and can come, and like, and then when she does turn up, it's like moments like that are going to hit so much harder than just Moira conforming to what her mother does kind of thing. Like she's only going to mother in the way that she knows how.
Exactly. She's going to mother how she knows how. And also I think her kids don't, if they want an authentic version of Moira, then that's just who she's going to be. She's going to do it, but in her own way. And so I'm glad that it wasn't, I feel like what they set up for Moira was realistic insofar as how much growth we could possibly see from Moira over a small amount of time. That's what I love about this show. And I know we've gotten feedback that said it before too, is the slow growth of these characters. It isn't overnight, because that's not real. Like that doesn't happen. And so getting her to kind of slowly fall in love with Schitt's Creek and slowly build these bonds with her kids is that much more rewarding when you see these big moments like grad night.
Yeah, and it doesn't betray their characters either. Like ordinarily when you see character growth in other shows, it means that you go from like one shape to another shape. With Moira, you're seeing this slow development, but you're not seeing her do a 180 in her personality type. Like she still is bonkers. We still have episodes like New Car, where she's excited beyond compare.
Excited beyond compare. Yes, especially with this being our first ever purchase of an automobile.
Like she still has those awful wigs, still wears like ridiculous outfits, and then still throws shade towards David and being like, well, this is your outfit as well. Like she still has those moments, which I think if it was another show, it'd have her being like conforming to that cookie cutter example of what a mother is. And it's like, no, she's
going to do it in her own way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Okay, let's talk about David. He had a really interesting season where he's not only growing in his career, right? He opened Rose Apothecary. We got to see him invest that money that he earned from Blouse Barn. And he also has started a relationship with someone. and met someone. Like this is a big season for David. I think, in my opinion, this feels like we've seen the biggest growth in terms of self-esteem for David. I think like and I don't know if I would classify this as rock bottom, Stuart, but like him finding out that his family did bankroll his art gallery in New York, that has to be at least close to rock bottom for David.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a really low moment, and not the only low moment of the season. Like you had the whole throuple situation towards the beginning. That must have been a bit of a kind of letdown of like how that all went down. You've got, I feel like David has seen the worst. I think, I'm hoping at least that David's gonna see. And we said it before with like David's had this slow growth of learning to almost just disregard his own anxiety and to come out of everything and just have a bit more confidence in himself. And it wouldn't have happened unless he had had that moment where Moira did the admission. And it also wouldn't have happened unless it came about from that conversation with Alexis in the car after the driving test. Like, I feel like that was one of the biggest moments for David, because it was this real thing of him letting out his frustrations with the fact that he was the one looking after Alexis and being kind of like always the one to kind of worry about her and be the responsible person in their entire family unit, because the parents weren't aware of what Alexis was up to. And so it was good for him to have that cathartic moment, but also to learn that lesson from Alexis was just like, well, why care about what other people think? Why give them that credence? They don't care about you. So why should you care about what they care about you when you're making it up? I think that was really good. And to see him come out of it and to build a business and to get with Patrick, it's like, it makes it so satisfying.
Yeah. I think what's going to be interesting going forward is, and I don't even know really the answer to this, it's something that I'm going to be looking at as well, is I feel like a lot of these big decisions, a lot of these big growth moments for David are heavily influenced by people around him. So as an example, like what you're saying, Alexis in the car, right? She's giving him advice, is nobody cares, David. Like, you're the only one who cares. You're basically getting in your own way. And so that we have that. Then we have Stevie, who was the one who pushes him to open Rose Apothecary, right? She's the one who says, put your money where your mouth is, like take over the general store and do something with it. And same thing. I mean, he also has Patrick, who comes in as a business partner and is supportive. Not that I feel like at that point, he already was doing it. David was already like full steam ahead, moving forward with Rose Apothecary. But speaking of Patrick, in terms of making a move on Patrick and kind of being able to see that Patrick was interested, and not only was he interested, but he seems like a really great guy, right? Like, it's almost like he needed Stevie to be like, point, thumbs up, to push him in that direction. And so what I'm curious to look out for in the second half of Schitt's Creek is, are we going to get to a point where David has enough confidence to push himself outside of his comfort zone? Or are we going to see a lot of Stevie continuing to push, Alexis continuing to push, other loved ones in his life continuing to push?
That's a really great point, because even when you think about Patrick is in that Stevie and Alexis kind of like, he's one of those people in that he is a pusher of David. Like, you can tell by the way in which he like pushes back against the fact that David doesn't really have much of the formal stuff sorted out with the apothecary when he first does the business plan. And it's that kind of like pushing against him and kind of like ribbing him a little bit, of just being like, well, okay, well, you don't really have a name settled, so do you have a proper business plan? And then also pushing again for like the electrical work and all of the kind of weird things that David wouldn't have got sorted if it wasn't for Patrick. I think it's good that Patrick serves that thing of just kind of pushing against David in the right direction. But I would like to see, like you said, David to come out of that and to move away from taking the guidance of everyone and just being like, no, I can make these really good, healthy decisions for myself. So it'd be nice to see David have independence. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something I'm going to be keeping an eye on him in the future with. But yeah, he has a lot of incredible moments. You mentioned earlier Sebastian Rain, like him getting a little bit of like a revenge, like a comeuppance was really fun to see. And then obviously his first kiss with Patrick in the finale was like a massive moment for him as well. So I just feel like David had a really strong season in terms of confidence and growth. And like, not only like, I mean, that's a lot to happen to someone, like a whole new career and a potential new significant other who seems like, from what we know of David's dating history, doesn't seem like he necessarily always picks the right guys. And from what we've seen of Patrick, he seems like a really lovely person.
Yeah. If it wasn't for Jake, I'd say he was on an upward trajectory as well. Because it goes like Stevie, Jake, Patrick. So like, well, technically Sebastian's in there as well, but not really a relationship.
Yeah.
That's just a hookup, I guess. But yeah, I feel like I feel like he's made a good decision towards the end, at least.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope it's a lasting one. Because I swear, if this doesn't work out, guys, I'll be so angry.
Yes. Okay, let's start talking about Alexis. Because similarly to David, I think she has like an absolutely stellar season. She has to, she finds out that she never graduated high school when she's looking into going to college. So she ends up having to go back to high school. She does graduate, obviously, in the finale and earns her high school diploma. And she continues to work at the vet's office with Ted, where I think we see her leaving by the end of the season in a very selfless decision to allow someone who is more qualified, who would be able to help Ted, be in that position instead. Like, that massive moment for her. And then, of course, also in terms of relationships, we have the kind of flirty nature of her relationship with Ted, culminating in them kissing and then deciding, I think we're probably better off as friends. What did you think of Alexis this season, Stuart?
I thought she had a great season. Again, had some hardships. She got lice. Very bad. She touched some old people.
No! To both
I swear, that sounds like some wounded creature.
It is. Her wigs, Stuart. Her wigs.
Gosh. But like she doesn't. It's not all smooth sailing for Alexis. Like, she has a really awkward lunch with Moira, which was like another way of kind of showing that their relationship as like parents and children is really kind of strained. But like David, she overcomes a lot of that. But I think, unlike David, she doesn't have help from many other people. She kind of gets it from Ted. And I guess Jocelyn as well, like with the school stuff, but that's kind of more low-key. But Ted is the one that is really helping her push herself forward a little bit. And it's not that heavy-handed either. It's kind of like, well, he's suggesting courses and she's going along with it. Like, it seems to be very much of her own motivation. I think it's just that Ted is the one guiding it a little bit and saying, well, this would be a good thing. And she is seeing sense and wanting to go for it. Like, it's fully her own choice to go and finish high school. No one's forcing her to do it. So I think that she's come out of this, and I feel like she's had the most growth, weirdly. I think we've seen more of David's growth, but I feel like Alexis has had more growth, if that makes any sense.
Interesting. Yeah, I can see it. I think, like, if we're looking career and relationship, right? Like, both of those things, I think, are also happening with Alexis. And I think another really important thing that she kind of, I don't know if learns or realizes, I don't know exactly what the right word there is, but when she does go to that dance class with Ted and kind of realizes, like, yeah, I really screwed him over. Like, I really did mess with him. And I feel like if season 1 Alexis heard that, I don't think it hits the same way. I think she's a little bit like, water off a duck's back. I think she actually takes it to heart in this season because she realizes, like, what a lovely person Ted is and what he's done for her as well. Mm-hmm. Not just when they dated, but also like for him to offer her, someone who has absolutely no business being an assistant in his office, you know, he offered her a job when he obviously had way more qualified people as an option. I just think she is able to absorb that a lot more. You know, we see all of the Roses becoming a lot more selfless throughout their time, I think, in Schitt's Creek. And yeah, I don't know, when you're comparing growth narratives from David to Alexis, I think it's difficult to compare them because I think it's like neck and neck.
Yeah.
I think
I think it's very difficult to compare as well because although we're talking like career and relationship growth, they are still very different because they're different dynamics completely. So yeah. I get it. It's hard to compare the two.
Yeah. And I think also like, I think a lot of David's, I'm seeing it's almost opposite where David is having such a bump in his self-esteem and self-confidence, self-worth. And Alexis is almost becoming more selfless, like she's paying less attention to just her and more about things around her as well. So I don't know. I think both of them have extremely compelling stories this season. And it's so nice to see these characters like becoming who they're going to be, I guess. And also the acting is like 10 out of 10 incredible. Like they just I can't speak enough to like how good they all are, you know? It makes I don't think they're as lovable. They're nowhere near as lovable if they were not portrayed by these people.
Yeah. I feel like we're constantly praising Annie Murphy for the physicality that she kind of brings to the role, but like Dan Levy as well is phenomenal with some of the ways in which he kind of like describes things, the way he reacts. Like, I'm obsessed with this. Like the way in which he says it, like I can just see the gif in my head over and over. Yeah. It's just so unique. And then you've got like Catherine and Eugene, who I don't know whether it's got to be just the way in which it's delivered. Like their comedic timing is phenomenal. Like Eugene Levy with the golfing chat with Roland and like the whole like
the hips
hugging him.
And, yeah.
Oh, it's just so well done. And I think that we can get into the story of everything, but it's always supported by phenomenal acting that is often overlooked because comedy doesn't get enough props for how difficult that is to do. And I think because it's funny and it's lighthearted and it's not dramatic and big, like, oh, look at me, I'm crying, I'm Kendall Roy, I'm the eldest boy. Like, not to detract from those performances.
How dare you, because he's also hysterical.
I mean, he is. But it doesn't get the same props because it's like, oh, it's comedy. And it's like, I feel like oftentimes, at least industry-wise, it's very much thought of, oh, well, anyone can really do comedy. Because there's such low-barrel comedy out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this elevates it. I love it for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? If you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. Choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
All right. It's time. It's time to rank the characters. This season, Stuart, 13! Lucky 13! Mm-hmm. So many characters we're ranking.
Let's address the elephant in the room. Mutt is out of there.
See you later!
2 seasons, gone. 1 episode isn't enough to justify Mutt being in here. He's off to tackle the cones. He's been pining for it for a while. With Tallahassee, Tennessee.
I truly don't know which one is right anymore.
Honestly, don't care. Don't care. She can take that broken compass and shove it up her ass. So, incredible. We got some more slots. We're throwing in some more characters this time. So we've got 13 available. Do we want to start bottom up, top down?
Well,
What would you
let's tell
prefer?
people. I'll tell people who we've added to the
Yes.
list. So we've removed Mutt. We have added Twyla, Ronnie, Ray, and Bob, and Patrick.
And Patrick,
Those are our new additions.
new additions.
Yeah,
and
I
then,
think
of
we have
course,
to
we've
start
got
bottom
all
to
the
top.
classics as well.
All the
Okay,
classics.
bottom
Yeah.
and top.
Yeah.
Okay, we immediately start off different.
Stop. We go. Okay, so just for the people at home. First of all, we have this displayed this lovely graphic on YouTube. So check us out there, youtube.com/talking shit. And that's not this way. So first of all, check us out there. Second of all, Stuart knows what my rankings are because he created the graphic. I do not know what his rankings are.
I finally have some power in this podcast. It's fantastic.
It's just this once. Don't get used to it. So I swear to God.
Okay, let's go with yours first. I think yours is going to be unsurprising.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. You've gone with Roland Schitt.
Yeah, he sucks. Like, I still don't like him. Like, it's fine. Like, I don't care for him.
Perfectly plausible. I've gone with someone I think is equally perfectly plausible.
No. I know what you're gonna do. I knew you were gonna do this. You are
Bob is the
monster.
worst.
You are
I'm not a monster.
Absolute
This
monster.
is fully justified.
How?
Okay. First off, how many Bob jogs did we actually get this season?
I don't know, 4? Like, enough to please me.
No. A minimal amount of Bob jogs. We were Bob jog heavy in season 2. This season, there's been hardly any. Not to mention, Bob is taking orders from his wife when it comes to town council decisions. He's going to bring in Christmas World. He's the worst. He still hasn't gone with Bob's Bagels. He gave away Johnny's office space. Bob is the worst. It's not
his fault that Bob's Bagels wasn't a thing. That was Johnny's fault.
No, it was his.
Lest we forget, Bob invites everyone over to his home for a poker night. He takes his winnings and spends them on food for his friends at subsequent poker nights.
Food which does not cater to their dietary needs. Where is the kosher, the halal, the gluten-free?
That was all just to get Gwen out of the house.
No. Bob just didn't even consider their feelings and thoughts. Bob is just there scranning all those snacks. Yeah, the worst.
I also didn't know Bob's last name. I'm learning it today.
I did have to look it up.
Curry? Interesting.
Apparently
okay.
so.
Well, we could talk more about Bob when we get to him on my rankings, which, spoiler alert, isn't right away because I'm not a monster.
Sure. 12th, I went with Roland. I mean, he's going to be there eventually, surely.
Yeah.
Your 12th, interesting. No unsurprising. I think Ray being in there?
Ray is kind of psychotic, okay? Like, Ray is a little unhinged. Ray is definitely trying to take advantage when Stevie loses her aunt. And he is like a fly on shit. He is right there. Yeah. He is like, what about the building? Do you want to sell the building? I have a real estate business. Would you like me to photograph it? I have a photography business.
An absolute realtor, right?
Oh my God. He's a little OTT. And truly, one of the other reasons that he landed so low on my list was that photography. I still have not forgotten about the photo shoot with the couple where I don't know what
Teresa and her fiance to be. Yeah.
What's he doing? Yeah. So no, Ray, this feels like a good spot for Ray.
Yeah. See, I ranked Ray a little bit higher. I went with Ray with 11. Purely, I thought just a smidge above. I mean, still Roland and Bob below, but like a little bit higher because if it weren't for Ray, we wouldn't have Patrick. So there's like the slightest little point there. The slightest little point there, maybe. Okay.
He gets the credit, I guess.
Your choice for 11, though, unhinged, and I'm furious.
Yeah, well, it hurts, doesn't it?
You can explain to yourself, to the listeners, why Jocelyn is your 11th choice.
Unlike you, I did not rewatch the season today at all. And I was struggling to think, like, what exactly did Jocelyn do that brought me joy this season? And there wasn't a whole heck of a lot. Like, The one big thing, I guess, is in the affair when she's dousing everything in chocolate sauce. I still think about that moment because it's so stupid and ridiculous. The fact that she, honest to God, thinks that someone else has slept with Roland is insane. But she loves him just that much, I guess. Beyond that, she's Alexis's high school teacher, which is fine. But like, is there a ton else that she's doing that I'm missing? Like, what else is she doing?
I feel like she helped Alexis out when it came to like the school stuff. Was like, I mean, she did have a really bad take on Marie Antoinette, I will say, but I mean, respect Kirsten Dunst's opinion on the events of French history. Thank you very much. Like, she is the person who we should be looking for that stuff. But she has these like really lovely moments as well. Like, she saves Twyla from the embarrassment of the murder mystery being announced and is like, oh, I think I know what's happening here. And like, she's always that one that
she also had to be begged to go to the said party by Moira.
Yeah. But if it wasn't for Jocelyn, that whole thing of Twyla announcing it would have just been ignored completely. Like, if it wasn't for Jocelyn, that awkwardness would have settled in the air. And for me, that's just unbearable. So for that, I like Jocelyn has to be higher. But 11th, Jocelyn Schitt in 11th place, Jess.
Honestly, it's kind of funny.
We got bad reviews from being mean to Jocelyn before. Like this, I feel like they're justified.
Wait till Bobology Island people come out of the woodwork. 1 star, 1 star, 1 star. Stewart. The funny thing is, I feel like you put Bob last just to spite me. I really wasn't even thinking about it when I put Jocelyn at 11th. Like, it wasn't like one of those jabs at you. It was mostly just like, okay, what did she do though?
Well, let's hope the Twyla stands don't get upset with both of us, because we both put Twyla at 10th.
Yeah, she has some funny moments, as Twyla does.
Yeah.
But like, again,
I felt like throwing Twyla into this mix, because like after I suggested the name of like throwing in a couple of more of the side characters to come in, I felt like Twyla was almost like a base level setter, because Twyla is perfectly lovable. She has some really dippy moments, like the murder mystery, for example. Like the idea of her going around last year's party and just winking at people and not realizing that she had selected a murderer for the murder mystery party was, to me, the funniest mental image. Like, I can just see it, like, with just how she is. But like, so she has those dippy moments. She also has some good moments, like putting Johnny in check when Johnny is helping her out in the cafe. After she breaks her foot.
Yeah, I love the small moments with Twyla, especially when she's too honest about the food at the cafe. When she says that the mozzarella sticks have already lost shape going from kitchen to table. It's like so ridiculous and gross. So I do love her for those reasons. I feel like she tends to like bring levity to most scenes that she's in. And so for those reasons, I put her higher than Jocelyn, because I thought she had more funny moments, more quippy moments that I could remember. And I feel like as a side character, that's kind of more of what their job is to come in with those like funny zingers. So yeah, I love Twyla. I do think 10th is an appropriate place for her.
Yeah. And it's nice to see us agreeing on some things, as Ronnie is 9th for the pair of us as well. Yeah. Again, Ronnie, a nice, I think, base level like side character. Ronnie's got some really good like moments this season where she kind of is the straight guy in the comedy skit with Moira and Roland in town council stuff. Ronnie is like the voice of reason. I love the fact that Ronnie's got a rec center, which is actually just a tennis court with a missing net, where all the kids go to hook up. Apparently, like, what the heck?
It's so good. I think if I were writing Schitt's Creek in like season 3, I think what I would have done is given Ronnie more of an antagonistic role with Moira. I think being on town council together, I think Ronnie is someone who will speak her mind very clearly. And I don't know that Moira's always going to want to hear that, especially when she's being too much. So I think I would have gone a little further even with Ronnie. And because she comes in with like the quips and the like muttering under her breath. But I feel like we could do a little bit more with her. Like I'm thinking of in grad night when Moira's like, oh, what about this song? And she's like, yeah, that has a solo right in your range, Moira. Like, stuff like that. I really enjoy. I hope we get more of Ronnie in these future seasons because she makes me laugh whenever she's on screen, which is why she's above a lot of these other side characters, because obviously she's not going to land herself a spot, higher than any of the Roses, but like she is really funny. And so I think in terms of she is, close to, if not top of the heap in terms of side characters.
Yeah. She's also really good just to flesh out the actual people of Schitt's Creek and to be like the frank voice of reason in a lot of things. Plus, she's also got just a stellar take on silver Christmas trees. Like, they absolutely are for like people in their 40s. Right. I then went for my 8th place position with Jocelyn. I felt like this was a suitable place. She didn't really have a great but big of a season, but I feel like she's not had a bad one. So I think like middle-ish isn't
you love Jocelyn, so this makes sense for you.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I mean, if we're putting people that we love in these positions, I mean, explain why Bob is 8th for you.
Because Bob is incredible, okay? He hosts poker night. Him and Gwen have these cute little matching poker hats. They've served yummy, yummy snacks while their friends are rude to them.
Yummy snacks.
I love Bob talking about his bench where teenagers make out. Like, I also think Bob is low-key kind of a great husband. Like in sort of like a subservient way.
Yeah, in the sense that he will do anything to keep Gwen around.
Exactly.
Gwen clearly does not want to be around, though.
If you want a husband who will do anything for you, Bob's your man. Bob's your guy. He's on town council. He doesn't care. Bring on in Christmas World, Like, wow. I think Bob is incredible. I also love that when other characters are like, what are you talking about, Bob? He just like, he just laughs. Like, he just goes.
Because nothing is going on behind those eyes.
I don't need him to be intelligent, okay? I can't express enough how much joy his character brings me. I love the jog. I hope we get more of it next season. At the end of this podcast, we are going to have a compilation of Bob jogs. Like, because it brings me so much joy. So that is why Bob has landed in 8th place.
We'll add the half Bob jog to the ones we've had previously in other seasons. Yeah. I swear we've had nothing of a Bob jog this season.
No, it's
been terrible
at some point.
The season
we need more.
In actually thinking about it.
Season last. No Bob jogs.
In fact, that will be how we rank the seasons. How many Bob jogs did they have?
How many Bob jogs were there? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's 8th place. And now I think is where we're cooking with fire a little bit more.
Yeah. Now we're on to, I think, the core cast, which is great that we're all kind of like 7 and above. Good placements, right?
Yeah.
We're in agreement with this one.
Oh.
Johnny gets both of our 7th places. And I feel like this is fully justified, right?
Yes, but I also feel like I'm in for a rude awakening next time I speak to my husband after he watches this podcast, because he loves Johnny. I love Johnny this season. I think he has a great season. I think the problem is everyone else also has an incredible season. And so
this is the thing.
Yeah, while he has a good season, and I really enjoy what we got from him, I do think this is like a stepping stone season for Johnny, if you will, right? Like he has just started at the motel. He has just started building a relationship with Stevie. I think whereas this is a stepping stone season for him, I feel like characters like David and Alexis, like they are flying by him on the racetrack. They're lapping him. Like they are just moving forward in such a quick trajectory that he cannot match. And so I do think he has a solid season. It's just not compared to the rest.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think if Johnny had this season last season, he would be up there with the rest of them. But unfortunately, he's a season behind everyone else. Got to catch up, buddy. Gotta catch up.
Yeah, still a good season. Love him working at the motel. Love him bouncing off of Stevie. I think we got a lot of really fun Johnny moments. Again, I love him trying to get Stevie to give him a high five. There's something just like so sweet and so dad about that moment. So I do love all of those things. It's just, it's really hard when you compare him to other people.
Yeah. I mean, we deviate a little again. You've gone with Ted for 6th place? What?
Yes. Okay. I love Ted. I love Ted. The problem is I do think other characters impressed me more. Like, I love his puns. Tackling the cones is kind of like his breakout moment. And it's incredible. I love him dancing with the elderly people. I loved what he did in front of that rabbit cage.
The hip thing.
Yeah, using those hips. The problem is I just think there wasn't as much depth to Ted as like there are in some of these other characters. So while I enjoy every moment I get of Ted, I feel like so much of his story is wrapped up in everyone else's stories. And he doesn't really have a ton of his own. And so I just felt like I couldn't justify putting him above them, even though, again, I absolutely adore Ted as a character.
Curious choice. Yeah, I went with Stevie for 6. Similar vibes, I think, is that I think that we only get a lot of Stevie stuff through other characters. We're only getting a lot of Ted stuff through Alexis. So it's always through another character's almost like lens or their story that we're always getting Stevie stuff through. I love that we got more stuff from Stevie this season. We actually saw Stevie's apartment, finally. We saw Ted's yonks ago. So, like, I feel like we're slowly getting more of Stevie's as, like, Stevie being a character in her own right. I think it was heartbreaking to see the whole thing with her aunt as well. And I love that we did get that. But again, I still feel like with Stevie, we're playing catch up. In terms of like, we're not getting as much of Stevie as we are with other characters, and we're always getting it attached to other main characters. For Stevie to be higher, for me, I want Stevie to have her own moments exclusively. Like, and I think we only got that with the whole Great Aunt thing, and then that was thrown over to Johnny with the ownership or the partnership with the motel.
That's interesting. I'll talk more about Stevie when we get to my placement of her, because I do think there's more to Stevie's story than like just the motel. But let's talk about our 5th placement, because I feel like this is where my list gets spicy.
Yeah. I went with Dependable Ted. A little bit higher than what you
Ted.
did. I love him. I love him so much. Every time he's on the screen, like I think I light up. I know that every time he says anything, I'm gonna chuckle because he's such a goofball. I just kind of I think if I knew Ted in real life, I think I might hate him. But I think when he's on screen, I just think that I am gonna find his really crappy puns adorable in a weird way. I don't know. But yeah, so I put him as 5th. You've gone
I loved it, yeah.
with an unhinged choice, though.
Yeah.
Moira Rose is 5th.
Moira Rose is 5th. And here's the thing. Eagle-eyed viewers will notice there was a little bit of a pause between us talking about the characters and us doing these rankings. And it's because I had to make some adjustments. Last-minute adjustments. Because after talking everything through, I just don't think Moira has as strong of a season as some of these other characters. I think she has like supportive moments, but in terms of ownership of her own story, like you were talking about with Stevie, she doesn't have nearly as much. I think I love her being supportive of Alexis and David. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not trying to undercut those story beats because they're massive, especially for a character like Moira. But in terms of her own story, right? Like town council for season 2, she didn't really have a thing this season. And I kind of feel that. Like, I enjoy her every episode, right? Every episode, Catherine O'Hara's on my screen, I'm laughing because she's ridiculous, right? Like 90% of the soundboard is Moira, you know, because she's so over the top and funny. Like,
Courage!
like, who else says that? No one. Like, but I think the problem is, like, that, in my opinion, if I'm just looking at every single time Moira says a word in a ridiculous way and it makes me laugh, she'd be number one every season. Like, it's just, I'm trying to look at this with like objectivity in terms of what actually was the substance there this season for Moira. And I just don't see it as much for her as I maybe do for others. And then there's a little bit of like subjective bias that we'll get into with my list once we move a little bit higher up. But yeah, that was my argument for Moira belonging in fifth place, which maybe is a little low, but I do think she didn't have as strong of a season.
To everything you've said, I agree, which is kind of why I put her in fourth place.
Wait, I'm the worst. There she is.
I'm gonna have fun with the fact that I know your rankings and I know mine. This is hilarious. Yeah, you went with Stevie for 4, which I think,
yes,
given everything that's been said, makes sense.
Yeah, I think the other story points for Stevie that I took into account in this ranking is her being the most supportive friend that like has existed on this show. Yeah. She is always there for David, pushing him to open the business, pushing him with Patrick, right? Like taking him in when there's lice in the motel. They have those really great conversations during that little slumber party. And then on top of that, her being the straight man to Johnny, I love the beginning of their relationship. I think it is so foundational. Like, it is, Stevie doesn't have a ton of people in her life, right? Like, when have we ever seen her interact with a family member, like a friend? Like, there's not a ton of people in her life. And so to have someone like Johnny there, he feels like a surrogate father in a way. And when he is the one who offers, like, why don't we go in on the motel together? And they have that hug, like, it is such a big moment, in my opinion. Like, I just think when we're looking at touchstone moments, Stevie has a lot of them this season. Like, I feel like maybe add the conversation about what color wine or what type of wine do you like, right? As like a touchstone moment. Stevie has like 2-3 of those this season. So I just felt like she earned a spot in fourth. Like, I think she had a stronger season, definitely stronger than season 2. And we're actually putting down roots and like carving a path for Stevie's future in this season with her taking over the motel instead of working at the motel.
Yeah, I certainly get that sense. I think for me, the only problem with the way in which Stevie is treated is the fact that so much of it, I think for me, is me looking specifically for Stevie's stuff. Like, there's a certain sadness, like the fact that we only ever get to see Stevie's story through other people, I think is indicative of Stevie's scenario, which is that Stevie as a person perhaps might be quite lonely. We get it from the fact that, like, she's in a one-person apartment. We get it from the fact that her inheritance, like, the inheritance goes to her. And she even talks, like, was it a brother or something that's in prison or is away or something like that. And, like, she's the only person that gets the inheritance, which makes me think that she doesn't actually have that much of a family around. Like, we don't see them and stuff. And so I think that there is a depth to Stevie's story that is there, but you're only really getting it if you're really thinking on the scenario of everything that comes about from Stevie's story. And I kind of wish it was brought forward a little bit more. Like, I feel like I kind of wish that we could just explore it a little bit by actually, you know, having a Stevie-centric storyline that isn't someone else's. That's my hope for next season at the very least. Who knows? Yeah,
I think I feel like the show realized its mistake in not giving her a ton to do in season 2, and this was like a correction of that mistake.
Yeah, and it can be corrected a little bit further. But
Yeah.
we can get that.
Yeah.
Speaking of a correction, we have the correction of removing an awful character and introducing probably, I think, one of the most beloved. Both of us go with third place with Patrick.
Yes.
Which I'm so happy to see that you rank Patrick as high as I did, because I was like wondering whether it's just recency bias as to why I loved him.
No.
But I adore this character so much.
Yeah, I think, remember when I said I was extremely objective, like for the last two selections? This is where all objectivity goes out the window. I think Patrick he is lightning in a bottle. He is like a shot of adrenaline to the show when you didn't even, like, the show doesn't need it, but then he's this puzzle piece that has come out of nowhere that just completes the show in a way. Like his presence, it feels like he has both been here all along and like injects new life into the show. Like that is what the character of Patrick does for me. I think immediately he has this like back and forth with David that's so great. He has like a tete-a-tete with Stevie, which is fun. Like he is exactly what David needed to like butt up against, but also collaborate with. He is so funny. He is so supremely sweet. Like he is kind of how I felt about Ted when like Alexis first started dating him, without the red flags. That of like going at lights, like warp speed, right? Like he was full steam ahead in a way that I think Patrick is a little bit more measured. I love the practicality of Patrick. I love how much he takes David's anxious brain, and it is like such a calming presence. I don't know. A lot of that I think is probably in my, personal life. I am the anxious brained one. I am the David. And I do think like there are some similarities between Patrick and Will in terms of like being this calming presence. I think it also endears me to him.
That.
I just love this character so much. And I am like so pleased we are finally to the Patrick era. I think this is the time, Stuart, where this was the not like most spoilable thing, but like how people feel about Patrick, I think they have a hard time containing and not spoiling. You know what I mean? Like I was struggling not to immediately be like, it's Patrick, like the minute he showed up, because I love him so much.
I mean, it's the thing, like the spoken yet unspoken of everything was, I can't wait for you to get to a point of this show. And it's like, well, clearly Patrick is the point that everyone was talking about. And I can see why. Like, he's wonderful. And I think for me, what makes Patrick's character so good is the potential for what it can be done with the storytelling, and what we've already seen from that is we've seen a very nuanced reaction to things that are ordinarily incredibly tropey, and we got that with Grad Night, and I love the way in which their first kiss was handled, his reaction to it, just the maturity of the communication between them. It's so refreshing, and I can't wait to see more. Like, I hope it continues. I sincerely hope it continues. 1 and 2, though.
Yeah, this is
we know
interesting.
who's left. We know who's left.
Yeah,
it's David and Alexis.
And last season, because I wanted to look at what had happened last season. Last season, I had David at 1, Alexis at 2. You had the inverse. You had Alexis at 1, David at 2. And you know what I have done. So this is fascinating to me as to where we will end up. Because for the second season in a row, I have David at my 1, Alexis at my 2. And I kind of have a gut instinct based on our character discussions that we had that you may also have duplicated your efforts and done the same thing last season and have Alexis at 1 and David at 2.
Do I seem that predictable?
Only a little bit.
The answer is yes, because I did exactly that.
Hey!
I felt like David has had a stellar season, don't get me wrong, and I don't want it to be taken that, like, I don't think that is the case. But for me, I think Alexis's stuff just hits a little harder. I think there's, like, just such good meat on the bones when it comes to character growth for her. And I don't think that David is any different. I just think I kind of get a bit more joy when Alexis is on screen more than David. That's what it comes down to. It's just a tiny little detail like that. And it's not to say I don't get joy from when David's on screen. It's just that I know that Alexis is going to make me laugh a little bit more.
And that's totally fair. Like when it is inches, when it's hairs, like dividing 1 and 2, some of it comes down to like, who do you enjoy more? And I think seeing a lot of the internal growth from David was just like such a pleasure to watch. And also just his interactions with Patrick. I think that's probably why I just preferred him ever so slightly more. But again, it is like hairs. Alexis has an incredible season. Like she does a ton. She is so selfless by the end of it. I am dying anytime she is on screen because she is so freaking funny. Her and Ted at work, like everything. These are both incredible characters. I love this. I love that we have done. We're predictable. We've done the same thing.
I mean, as someone that prepared the graphic, I certainly appreciated the fact that we didn't change this. I didn't have to edit a few things.
It's so funny. Like, I'm just looking. Last season, both of us had Moira at 3. So, like, she's taken a little bit of a step back for both of us. And we both had Ted at 4. So he's also gotten bumped down a little bit in favor of Patrick. And Stevie has had a better season. So she also moved up. Significantly for me. I had her at 7th last season. So she has really gotten bumped up quite a bit.
Yeah. And I think that's a testament to what they've learned from previous seasons with the writing. And they certainly have taken all of the stuff that we've said as like possible critiques, and obviously they're not listening to us. We are recording this well after the show has ended. But like they clearly see the same things that we saw in season 2, and we're addressed it in the writing for season 3, which is so great.
Yeah. Incredible. So fun. Well, let's talk through our MVPs and LVPs in terms of simply the bests. And usually this is also where we kind of say, if it's different than our character rankings, who's MVP, who's LVP, I'm just going to come right out and say, I'm going to have David. He is my simply the best. I think for reasons I have stated over and over again, I absolutely adore him this season. What about you, Stuart? Who do you think is simply the best this season?
Despite putting the character rankings, because I feel like that's a part of like my own personal preference.
Yes.
I feel like the simply the best is more reflective of just generally. I'm going to agree. I'm going to put David because I feel like David has had a huge amount of growth. And also as a character, I think is probably succeeding the most. So I'm going to give it to David.
Do you have any guesses as to who won the Simply the Best award based off of the points we have given out all season long? I will say we have a tie.
I think Alexis might get it based on points. That's my thought, because I feel like I was throwing her a lot of like points for like episodes where she made me crack up, but I could be wrong.
She came in 2nd, or I guess 3rd. If we have a tie for 1st, that's 3rd.
Shocking. Wait, first then.
Okay, in 1st, I think one of them is a little bit more surprising than the other. Patrick came in real hot and scooped up a ton of points, even in his very less than half the season.
Wow,
he has 5 points. Also having 5 points, Stevie.
Hey, I love that.
That's pretty incredible. Yeah, love that for her. I think also a big factor in this is it's tough if you've also earned disgruntled pelican points, because those are detracting from the points that you have gained, which is why Alexis got 1 disgruntled pelican point, so that's why she was at 4, not 5. Otherwise she possibly could have also won.
I blame you entirely, even if it was me. I blame you.
It probably was me. Disgruntled pelican, the worst of the season. I just don't think it's anyone but Roland. Like, truly, who else could it be? He's just grimy, especially his hotel stay where he keeps everyone up all night. I would actually kill him.
That was last season.
Oh, was it? I don't know.
I could be misremembering. I'm pretty sure that was last season.
You watched it today. I don't know. Was it? Bad. Either way,
I mean,
he's the worst.
Still him. Yeah. Thing is, though, Roland has a couple of moments where he isn't a complete piece of shit. Like, I mean, he does accept, like, Johnny goes over and is like, oh, I need to borrow some clothes to buy a car because I need to, and then, like, it's because he wants to look more poor. And they kind of still let him, which is, I mean, I wouldn't. I tell Johnny to go shove it up his ass. Like, he's so rude to them sometimes.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone else does as much bad as him. So yeah, I think I have to give it to Roland.
That's the problem. He has very low lows.
I have to agree, yeah.
Disgruntled Pelican. One person won it, but not by as much as you might suspect. It is Roland who's going to take home the Disgruntled Pelican award with -6 points.
Wow.
Will, if you are listening to the podcast, please remove your earbuds now before I say the next thing I'm going to say, which is Johnny had -4. He did earn points, but the problem is he also lost so many points.
Yeah.
So,
see, this is the thing. I was going to make a prediction that Johnny would have been the lowest, but then you reminded me that the plus points negate them. So I was like, well, he can't, because I think he's had some really good moments. But Johnny, I'm guessing, has earned a lot of Disgruntled Pelicans over this season because he's done a lot of stupid shit. He's such an idiot.
Yeah, he's won 2 Simply the Bests, but then he lost all the, he lost everything else. So, yeah, wow. Unfortunately for Johnny. But those are our Disgruntled Pelican and our Disgruntled Pelican are Simply the Bests. And let's talk about our season rankings. I thought this would be fun now that we're 3 seasons deep to kind of rank the seasons. And I've brought along as a little, trip down memory lane or reminder more so, how we felt about the seasons through our tier rankings for each season. So I'm going to bring up, if you're watching us on YouTube, season 1, where we tier ranked it. Now, we had nothing in Hot Shit. 3 episodes in Full Bouquet, the majority at 6 episodes in Love That Journey for Me, 3 in You David, and 1 episode, Shit Out of Luck, which was the episode where Moira's sister comes to visit.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think, I mean, I don't know about you, Stuart. I think very easily out of the gate, the easiest thing for me to say is that I know season 1 is my worst season.
Yeah,
it's very mutt heavy.
Yeah, I'm looking at these episode rankings. Blimey, we were generous. Like, we're quibbling over whether something should be Love That Journey for Me or Full Bouquet these days. And we've got 3 episodes in Full Bouquet that I think, in comparison to this last season, I would definitely put them in the lower tiers.
Yeah, I think it's hard when we first started, right? You have nothing like to compare it against besides itself. So yeah, I think really easily I have season 1 in last, but let's continue and we can lock things in. Season 2 was like, we're going from like, oh, we got some Shut Out of Luck, we got some Ew David, to like, boom, all bangers.
Gosh, we were really high on season 2. And again, I think unjustly so.
Yeah, so if you were listening to the audio only version, we have 3 episodes in Hot Shit, 5 in Full Bouquet, and 5 in Love That Journey for Me, which means nothing in Ew David or Shit Out of Luck. So everything is either average or above. Yeah.
That is
now, would you change
outrageous.
anything? Like, I feel like looking at this, I would probably move Estate Sale to Full Bouquet and just have Finding David and Happy Anniversary and Hot Shit. I still think both of those earn their spot in Hot Shit.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I'm also looking at the lower down. I think the candidate is much higher than it should be.
I think so too.
I would put that
think
at
also
the bottom of that list, and maybe even in Ew David.
Yeah, I think with some perspective now, things shift a little bit, but I still would agree. I think you would agree as well that like season 2 is still superior to season 1, like even with those micro adjustments.
Yeah. And they would be micro adjustments. I think in hindsight, I think I agree with what most people would say is that season 2 is absolutely affected by the town council election. And it's not the best story, and I think it drags everything else down.
Yeah. And then we have season 3, which we just ranked, where we have 3 in Hot Shit, 3 in Full Bouquet, 5 in Love That Journey for Me, and 2 in EO David. Very much like it's more of what I think you would expect to see in any given season of a show, where we have some really high highs with Grad Night, Friends and Family, and New Car, and then some lower lows with Murder Mystery and Sebastian Reign. Nothing that is like show breaking, though.
Yeah, I agree with not having the season opener in Hot Shit. After a rewatch, it certainly isn't one of the stronger season openers, although it's a perfectly good episode. And of course, as our most recent rankings, this is perfect. No notes. We cannot be improved. This is exactly as it will be. And I'm sure I will agree with this when we come to review this next season.
Exactly. So all that being said, Stuart, it's funny because if you look at season 2 versus season 3, I think the charts would say season 2 is better. I think season 3, though, while maybe it has some lower lows, I think season 3 has higher highs than season 2
I think so
does.
as well.
So would you rank season 3 at the top, then season 2, and then season 1?
Absolutely.
I think that is also where I fall. And I want to keep up with this this project here because a lot of people say this is a show that only gets better. Every season builds upon the last and is better and better and better. I want to see if that's true because I truly don't know. Currently, it seems like that hypothesis is correct, but we'll see.
I mean, everyone's always said that, like, from season 3, it gets good. And, like, there are some people that say that, like, obviously it gets better and better. But, like, I wonder if maybe it is just that it's all just good and there is going to be a slump. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there is, like, a season 5 slump. Like, shows tend to do that where it's like, the end is kind of, like, circling, And so the last season tends to get rated a little bit better than the penultimate because of that. I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay, well, Stuart, let's get into the predictions that you made at the end of last season about what would be occurring this season. So
I don't remember these at all.
First prediction was Johnny starts a business. I would say like a half a point because he signs on to an existing business.
That's generous of you. Yeah, I'll take the half, but yeah. Okay. I was expecting him to start up something afresh, but of course he didn't have the capital for it, and he's already spent enough of David's money buying a car. I don't think he can take more to set up a business.
You also predicted Moira will spend the season on town council.
That's such a stupid prediction because I mean it's so obvious that it will happen. She just won the election.
Yeah, I don't know why I let you get away with that.
Yeah.
The next prediction is hysterical, and it is David is going to shack up with Jake.
Wasn't wrong. Wrong.
Oh, does shack up mean like just bonk or like?
Oh yeah.
Oh, see, I feel like Americans would say shack up would be you're living with someone.
Okay, maybe I'm misusing that kind of bit of slang, but I certainly meant it that they were going to.
No, if that's what you meant, listen.
Down to business.
They're getting busy. So, point for you. You also predicted David is going to go into a business venture with Johnny.
Yes, that's the thing. Maybe I did think about the fact that Johnny didn't have the startup capital and was going to like leech off of David. No points there.
Alexis is going to date around. She will be single for a while and then dab in the dating scene.
No,
dabble,
none
not
of
dab.
that.
She's going to dabble.
The
dating scene. Yeah, that didn't happen. Nothing like that happened. No. You also predicted Alexis was going to move out of the motel. No.
Wasn't nearly, but that was last season, I think, wasn't it?
That was last season, yeah.
Yeah. Damn it.
You think Moira and Ronnie are going to become friends. They'll set up something in town, some sort of community thing.
I would labor to call
Moira's Rose Garden or whatever. Rose's Garden.
There's too many apostrophes to even keep track. I mean, that was only because Johnny paid for it.
Exactly.
I wouldn't necessarily call them friends. Although,
No.
I mean, Moira was very keen to go for lunch with Ronnie instead of Alexis.
Just to avoid Alexis.
Yeah.
Friends with Ronnie.
Yeah. Sadly not.
You also predicted Twyla will be around more.
Oh, definitely wrong. Twyla was.
She was
I
around
felt like we saw less of her. Yeah, even in a Twyla named episode with the whole murder mystery party, like she was barely around for that episode.
Yeah. And your last prediction was Stevie is around more, which
that's a really bad prediction.
You gotta be spicier with your predictions.
Yeah.
And also, you did worse this season. Even with your lame ass predictions, you only earned 2.5 points. So that's what you get for making boring predictions.
Yeah, they were really boring. Why didn't I get called out for that?
Now you got to be spicier. I already wrote down a prediction you made earlier, which is Bob and Johnny are going to have a rivalry.
I'm going to take that further. I think they're going to fight.
Fist fight. Okay.
I want to see a tussle.
I put that down.
Okay, let's think about stuff that has been happening. I
want at least one per character. So Johnny, Moira, David, Alexis, at least.
Okay. Moira's been toying with stuff. I think there's going to be something that pulls her away from the council, finally.
Okay.
We've seen her have the audition. I think Moira's going to do some acting. I think we're going to get her on screen again.
Okay.
I'm going to say that.
Okay, Moira's going to do some acting.
Though, but yeah, maybe something there.
Okay.
Alexis. I mean, okay, she's gonna quit.
Yeah, she already did that. Is she gonna
continue her studies? Maybe, but that's really boring. Yeah, actually, no. I'm gonna say she goes to college.
Okay.
And gets a college boyfriend.
Okay, she meets someone there.
Yeah.
What type of college is this? Like, are we talking? Is she leaving the motel? Is she like living on campus? Okay.
Yeah, she'll be a commuter student. Yeah.
Commuter. Okay. All right. David and Johnny, what you got?
David. I mean, he's just set up the apothecary. That'll kind of linger on. So David's got to have something wild. Let's say David. I don't know why I was going to say loses the hand. That's ridiculous.
Loses a hand?
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of something really outrageous.
It's up for posterity. If that happens, you'll get points.
That happens. Oh my gosh. I can't think of anything that David might do. I feel like David's really
so David,
like
Rose
him and Patrick,
Apothecary.
obviously. Yeah, him and Patrick. I don't know, get married.
David and Patrick get married. Okay.
Be really
and
quick.
then Johnny,
I mean, fights Bob, right?
That's
does
his
that
whole
not count?
storyline. That's his season-long
I think the whole season is going to be like a training thing. He's going to have like a Rocky training montage.
Okay.
Stupid.
And then make some predictions about any random side characters, right? What's Stevie up to? What's Ted up to? Twyla, anybody?
Stevie. Okay. Let's think. You don't want to go too absurd because you know it's not going to happen.
I want you to go too absurd.
Okay. Okay, let's think. Stevie sells the motel.
Okay.
Today. Let's create some drama there.
Yep.
Let's think. Roland, maybe? Roland will actually cheat on Jocelyn.
Imagine the amount of disgruntled Pelican points he will get.
Jocelyn is going to cheat on Roland.
What? Cheating on each other?
I don't know. Ray wins the lottery.
Good for Ray. So happy for him.
Good on Ray.
Maybe he can drop one of his businesses.
Yeah. Ronnie runs for governor.
Okay. Beautiful. We've gone from very basic and guaranteed to happen to what is happening on the show if all this happens.
Go for it.
Incredible. Okay. Let's go over some feedback we've gotten. We have a couple of 5-star reviews to read. If you're listening to this,
Multiple.
and you're thinking, I want my 5-star review read on the podcast, send one in, baby. I'll read it. So
Every word.
every single word, you're right.
No matter what it
starting
says.
off, we got one from Skajer. That's my best.
We'll say every name, but we won't necessarily pronounce it correctly.
don't know
Let's put that caveat in.
Yeah, Skajer. So Healing is the title. I've been overdosing on current event podcasts lately, so finding this one was such a breath of fresh air, like a shot of serotonin straight to my brain, much like the first time I watched the show. I've put all my other podcast listening on hold to catch up with this one. Keep up the delightful work. And yes, you should make Stuart cover Parks and Rec next.
It was going so well.
It actually was written by Skajer. So thank you so much, Skajer.
I mean, please let us know if that's not correct.
Listen, there's a lot of vowels happening in there.
But no, that's delightful. I love that. I mean, like, this show was an escape for everyone during COVID. Our podcast can be an escape during everything that's going on at the moment. Let's just not think about it. This is a lovely safe space.
Yeah, you're in a safe space.
Where we can shout at Jess for having really wrong Bob opinions.
Thank you so much, Skajer, for your lovely words.
Thank you.
We also got a 5-star review from Mara. It could be Mara, I suppose, but I'm going to say Mara because maybe. Who also has the word delightful in their review. A delight. It's so lovely to listen to people who are genuinely friends, and then talking about the best show ever is an added bonus. Look at that, Stuart. They think we're friends.
I know, right? We're really good actors.
They don't know we actually hate each other.
Bobology
every time he talks. I'm just gonna say every time he talks about Jocelyn, I want to throw myself off a cliff.
How dare you? She is the best.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We also got an email from Rowan. Hey, I'm a little behind, but in case it was never answered, I wanted to weigh in on the question about whether someone Alexis's age will be able to literally go back to high school. I don't know what the laws are like in Canada, but when I was in high school in the US, I had a friend who had trouble crossing the finish line. I love that as like a phrase. Had trouble crossing the finish line. And did his senior year 4 times, starting when I was a freshman. It was from him I learned that legally you could be in high school until the age 21. And then you had to seek other options because no, you can't have adults just hanging out with high schoolers indefinitely. Fortunately, he did ultimately get his shit together and managed to graduate with my class in 97. And we were all very proud of him. Love the pod. It makes my day every time. Thanks so much, Rowan. Also so happy that your friend did end up graduating. Good for him.
Yeah. Determination. Like, stick with it. Put in the work.
Also, it makes me happy to know that you can't have just full grown ass adults hanging around children. So that's good.
Yeah. Although the image of it is still kind of hilarious of just like 40-year-old amongst like and oversized in the little tiny desks. How do you do,
fellow
high
children?
Schoolers don't have like tiny little desks. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. We also got a message from Trish saying season 3 is like that warm blanket that you snuggle down in your favorite chair with. It's not warming you up instantly, but you know you're in a safe place and it's never going to let you down.
Yeah,
so true.
I completely agree. I love the fact that like they have written Schitt's Creek to not come with all of the BS that our world comes with. And it's just like, I'm going to present it in probably the most favorable way. And any of the antagonism is just going to be absurd or silly or really not that consequential. Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah. We also got a message from Aaron that says in Australia, there's no mega graduation for high school. We just did a well done, see you thing in the gym in our school uniforms. Definitely no cap and gown until university. We learned to drive at 16 and get a license at 18. Drinking age is 18 as well. P.S. Raw dogging COVID made me laugh out loud.
I still maintain that it's ridiculous. I did a bit of research after last week's episode. Turns out that technically we can drink from the age of 5 in our own homes legally. It's ridiculous. It's like one of these old laws that's never really been updated.
Can I also just say, I don't know if this is a spicy opinion, but I'm going to say it because why the hell not? I really, now that I am a 30-something-year-old lady, I just don't think I understand the like want to drink a ton anymore. Like, I don't want heartburn. I don't want like a stomach ache. I don't want a hangover at my age because it like that knocks you out. Like, there are other things you can imbibe in that do not have as bad a side effects as drinking. And so I truly don't understand the like obsession with it. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Two things to say on that. Firstly, those other things, not necessarily legal in all countries, we'll say. Annoyingly.
Maybe you should move.
Yeah. Second point, though, no 20-year-old is getting heartburn and stomach problems from drinking. That's a symptom of your 30s.
I will say, I think it was literally the weekend that I turned 30 that I got heartburn for the first time, and I thought I was dying. Like, I thought I was having a heart attack because I didn't know what it was, and I was like, why does my chest hurt? It's not good. I'm just saying, like, truly, I don't. And also, the other thing with drinking is once you break the seal, it's just the roughest of times. I don't want to have to get up to run to the bathroom every 2 seconds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just isn't. It isn't my thing anymore. Plus, it's like so much liquid. It's just a lot of liquid that you're having.
It's a lot of liquid. Why did we move on to spirits? Yeah.
It's honestly what I was thinking about the other day. I'm like, why do people like doing this a ton? Anyway, moving on. We also got some feedback from Todd the librarian from our last podcast. He says, look, I'm all for the Roland hate, but A, checking into a hotel later than the initial check-in time is not a crime. And B, the fact that this hotel is completely unmanned so much of the time is kind of wild.
Double ding. Excellent points, Todd. Thank you for having my corner there.
Roland. Oh my gosh. Jen said, one thing I love about this show is it gives its character arcs and gives its characters arcs and lets them keep their growth. In so many other shows, characters have a learning episode or a mini arc, and then they immediately revert. And this is so true.
Yeah, totally agree on that.
Yep. And Michael says, I love this show. Why did they stop shooting? That was a huge mistake. So popular. Yeah. I mean, the thing I like about this show is that like they decided when it ended. I don't know if you knew that, Stuart, that like they determined like, no, we're done.
Oh, really? It wasn't network.
Right. So that's
good.
really nice because I think when things are left unresolved, I feel like you feel it in a show.
Yeah.
The show does not have that. So we have that to look forward to. We don't have like a terrible cliffhangery sort of finale. Not that.
I mean, we talk about many people experiencing this show when it went onto Netflix. It's nice to see a Netflix show with an ending. Just going to put that out there. If anyone working at Netflix is listening, you know what I'm on about.
Imagine if they
Stop
were.
cancelling things after one season, you fuckers.
Yeah, you fuckers. I don't know why. It sounded much more intense coming from me for some reason.
Yeah.
I felt like that 12-year-old kid in the background, like, yeah, get him. Anyway, I mean, that's all I have on my list, Stuart. That's all the feedback, which if you want to send in feedback in the future, talkingshit.com, podcast@talkingshit.com.
That's the one. She remembered.
That's the one. That's
it's not
how
written
to get
down, but
to
she
us.
remembered it.
It's not written down anywhere, so everyone should be impressed. Go follow us on YouTube, see our lovely faces, make a little comment, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 200 subscribers. We're getting there. We have like 122.
Mm-hmm.
People are coming out of the woodwork. There are dozens of them just trying to claw their way in.
There are literally dozens of us. Wonderful. Having everyone's feedback is great. I was saying to Jess, actually, one of the most fulfilling things about this is when people send their feedback, because I don't know, we do this mostly for our own satisfaction, but getting the good feedback, especially lovely positive feedback like that as well. I mean, it's just cherry on top. Love it so much.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So next up is season 4. It's very exciting because, Stuart, season 4 has 12 episodes, but it has a special at the end. So you should feel right at home because British shows love a special.
We do. Why Why do a whole season when you can do a special? Said no one, but yeah, I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah. So there is a special at the end of the season, which is very exciting. But yeah, over halfway through the show at this point, or exactly halfway through, I suppose.
Finally, we're at the halfway point. Not last season like you thought it would be, Jess. And I can stop taking the piss out of you for that comment.
You're finally halfway through the season or the series, the whole thing. Which means next week we're going to be starting with season 4. That's right, baby. We're not taking a week off. Holiday who will be here?
Exactly. Dedication. Dedication.
We're going to be covering the premiere of season 4, which I'm pretty sure we already talked about the title of, but it is Dead Guy in Room 4, which I'm sure as soon as I've held off long enough, Stuart, I think. It's been an hour and a half. You've served your time.
Why wasn't my prediction that there'd be a dead guy in Room 4? I could have cheated.
You could have cheated, and you didn't.
Furious.
So,
Furious.
yeah. But we'll be back next week with the premiere of season 4. Until then, follow us everywhere at Talkin' Shit. Anything else, Stuart? Anything from you?
No, I think if we haven't wrapped this up after an hour and a half, I don't think we'll ever wrap it up. But yeah,
this is fair.
Find me on socials, Stuart Drinks Tea.
All right. Until next time, everyone. It's not on the document. What is it? Regards.
Jessica!
What is it? I'm looking it up. I'm pulling an old sheet up. Okay. Warmest regards.
And best wishes.
Bye.